Okay, now we'll continue from where we left off. Next thing is the antennas, right? These are the antennas. Let's click it. Okay. I'm just gonna drop in a connectivity node. We have some space here. Let's move it here. We're gonna put a connectivity sub. Here they're all unpacked. Based on connectivity, we're gonna create some names again. Now this is rename antenna, so it's gonna be an active angle. Let's drop it to here. Let's rename this node rename antenna, and let's type in on the primitives. Let's run over the primitives as at name equals double quote antenna underscore double quote plus integer to array I at class. Again, this means we are converting an integer to a string, so we can join the strings with antenna, right? And as at shop material path, here I'm saying actually, why did I do this? Because I was trying to, I think, overwrite this on my old scene. We don't really need this one here because they're all called antenna. We can do this part later at the shading part, because we will be able to separate these. They're ID antennas anyway, and they we already have this. We're gonna use it later on. So I did fracture these guys so they can kind of like bend, because they're like, otherwise they won't bend. So let's just, I use the material fracture for this one, RBD material fracture. Due to the shape, we could just use, I guess, Voronoi as well. No, makes no difference here, to be honest. Let's plug this guy in here, let it cook. So we got some, if you put an exploded view, you can see how much we got these broken up. So depends on how flexible you want these guys to be. That's where we're gonna put in more numbers if needed. But what we're gonna do is on the material fracture ID, let's rename it to antenna. Okay, and then I guess we don't need to add detail. We don't need constraints here as well. We're gonna create our own constraints. That's pretty much it, I'll say. Maybe let's make it a bit more fractured. Let's go 20 maybe. Let's see if it does something. Let's change the noise type to none. This should break it up a bit more even. Yeah, so if you want to distribute them a bit, I think we can distribute them a bit better. It's a bit more random like this, but yeah, that's probably good. Again, if you need a bit more resolution or a bit more even resolution between the pieces, we can also do this. If we scatter some points and then go, you know, Voronoi fracture, I can do that. I think that gives us a bit more even out shapes. We can also use the points, and then it will go like this. I think that's going to give us even a bit more even out shapes. Let it cook. Okay, probably this is a bit better, just I think way too much though. So let's bring that number down to maybe, actually let's turn on the relaxation. Let's go 100. Oh, because we have increased the, I think this let's put this back to 5. It's gonna be a bit less now. Let it cook. I didn't see much of a change. Maybe let's also distribute this slightly better. This is not working. Alright, piece numbering. You know what, the other way we can divide this a bit more even out is that if you put a divide swap, let's go and let's say not convex, breaker, so it's every 1 meter, right? So we can, I guess, feed it in here. That should give us a bit more uniform shape. Yes, but this is a little still too much. I think I just want it less. Let's go. Yeah, okay. I think I'm gonna settle here. This number is not so bad. There's a few unbroken ones, but again, it's not that important here. This is, even if it's probably a little too much. Let's go 200. Okay, let's stick to this. But I do want the naming to be correct. Where is the naming? So here I want to have these named again. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take this guy under the Voronoi. Okay. So now let me see. This is based on connectivity. No, we don't need this. Sorry, because this already gives a name. Let's do 1 second. Let's do this right. Let's put the blast so we don't have to clean this extra group. So now it doesn't have those extra groups. This is now Voronoi. Okay, and I will rename this properly. Again, let's create connectivity on class and rename. Okay, let's leave it like this. Let's get rid of this guy. Let's put this here. So these are my antennas. And do I need to do any cleanup? Oh, I triggered the glass. Sorry. Let's go here. I mean, I will need to cook that because I want the outputs to be consistent. Let's put an out for now. Out antenna. Out antenna pieces. Antenna pieces. Okay. Let's do the columns. These are my columns, right? Okay. These ones we probably need to do a little bit better work. So let's do the same thing again here. Connectivity. This time we'll stick to it. On primitives, it's a class, it's an integer. We do the rename antenna to rename column. You can use the same thing, but type column here. Okay, let's cook it. It's fine. Let's do open a scatter node. Let's leave it as it is. Let's drop in another RBD material fracture. Okay, I don't need this to create constraints. I don't know if it's taking extra time to calculate this, but we don't need it, so I'm just gonna leave it as it is. I'm not creating additional surface detail for now. We may, depending on if it's a hero stuff, you may want to do that, to be honest, but that's going to take a lot more time if you want to do it. Let's go to primary fracture. Let's name these guys column. Okay, and we can let it cook. I'm going to change that to leave it as it is, but we're gonna increase the resolution now. It kind of, I think, makes the noise a bit more even based on the detail. If I go here now, let me do an extrude, explode view. So this is obviously probably not enough, and if that anything that too connected, we can, let me try putting this guy in. And let's turn on, I would say, input points, volume to 25. Let's go 25. Okay, break it. Let's see. Let it cook. There are multitude ways of fracturing things, right? This is one of them. Feeding in impact points. You could scatter a lot of grid, use Voronoi cut to do the same thing. I can probably show that as well. This one's taking a little too much time. Let it cook. Sometimes the results can be unreliable, so it's like the fracturing part is still, I think, one of the things that needs more work, because you have to isolate features of the geometry that kind of works together, like columns, floors, and then it's a lot of manual work here. But I mean, this is going to be applied to the whole thing. You see, like now what's happening? Okay, whoa. That may be a little too much. Let's go maybe 10. Okay, let it cook. It's 3,000 pieces. I guess it's okay. And this is where you basically define what your computer can handle as well. Like I would start probably less numbers, you know, at the end when you pack, you want to have certain amount of objects with enough breakup so your building can bend and, you know, collapse properly, and then based on the performance you can increase, decrease the amount of points. Let's stick to this for now. That's still a lot of points, but I will stick to it. All right, let's now go and do the floors. Let's copy paste this guy. Let's say out columns. Okay, so we are doing the floors now. Floors gave me a lot of problem for the Voronoi. They kept giving bad results, so I had to do actually a few more steps. So let's delete unused groups as well, so they had them. I had to pass them through a clean swap. Okay, so let's see if it did anything. 48,385, 48,3. Okay, so it did remove some polygons. Then I had to do a fuse. It's almost like cleaning the points as much as possible. Okay, then I actually had to go for each. I think I have names here already based on floors. Then I had to go for each floor, so I can do for each name primitive, right? Because I have a name attribute for each floor. This is where it came handy. Let's automatically set the name. I had to do a remesh. And let's not overdo. It was hard edge group. Oh, I have hard edges here. I don't think I have hard edges here. Logo. Oh yeah, I do. Okay. I said work on this group. Iteration is 2, but target size is 6. This is important, or you'll crash your memory, your computer. So let it cook. Then it gave me this, and this. After this, I was able to basically fracture it. And I had to still fracture it with Voronoi for each. I could do it probably right under here, to be honest. Let's do it that way. Oh, but am I doing any randomization? No, I didn't actually, and I didn't need it to. Let's go clean. Let's put another for each. Name primitive. This should still have the names after the mesh, which seems like the case. So let's go like this. So it's going to give us one now here. So basically, I did Voronoi, but now our seed is slightly different. So let's try material fracture. Oops, material fracture. It's slightly slower, but it kind of makes nicer cuts. Let's give it a go. Exploded view as usual. So it's kind of working now. Let's I guess make it more. Okay, now let's try adding some detail to this guy. 0.1 will be too small. It is for starters, so let's go maybe 1. No, 1 will be too big. Let's go 0.2. No, this is like 20 centimeters offset. Detail size, my apologies. This is 5 centimeters, so that will be quite big, quite small. Let's try with 20. See if it adds anything on these edges that's visible without destroying the geometry. Okay. So that's probably too much. So between these each point is 20 centimeters, so that's quite a big floor. Let's go 5. I want to break the silhouette, but this is probably more reasonable. Now we can increase the height. Okay, that's more like it, right? We can even try more, I guess. Some of these pieces are still not very cool, but let's try noise element 6. It's not really making much more difference than the edge. Let's try 3. And now it's completely broken. All right, let's go back to 0.5, 0.3 maybe. No, it's not doing good stuff here. It's breaking our mesh. Let's go 1. But since I see artifacts here and there, and I'm not able to guarantee it's not gonna do anything weird in different floors, so I'm kind of thinking that this is a little risky. I'm gonna turn off the edge detail for now, for the first pass at least, and we can do something like this. We can say, you know what, maybe fracture a lot more, and then we can say maybe cluster, RBD cluster. And then I can say the size can be maybe 10, 10, 10. So you have some big pieces, some smaller pieces. Kind of makes more sense. Alright, okay. Some of these are not pretty cool actually. That's the random detach, I think, doing that. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna stick to this one. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a bit too random, to be honest. Like if the floors break, they'll probably pancake each other and they'll bend and rather break in more square shapes, right? So maybe we don't need so many. Let's go 20 again. Let me disable this. No. Let's try. Let me see. What if we can, let's try this. Let's drop a grid. No, let's divide this. Okay. No, not like this also. Okay, let's try this. Let's put a box. This might work. Let's put a box. Okay, and let's just keep one face always. Okay, then let's divide this. And not 1 meter, but let's say 20, 20, 20. Okay, that's a bit too big maybe. 7, 7, 7. All right, let's try this. then let's put a Voronoi. We can do Voronoi fracture. Let's maybe try this guy first. These are the impact points, cutter geometry, extra Voronoi points. Okay, let's try this. And use this. And then explode view. Not so many faces. Let's go maybe 2. Let's go 1. No, it's not. It's a bit more organized, but what I'm trying to do is this. If I put a Voronoi again, let's go with the Voronoi. This one again. Voronoi fracture, and I'll fit the points here and the mesh here. And now if I explode this, okay, now it's way too squarish, but in a way that's, I think, the idea. Let's go maybe 10, 10, 10. Okay, let's keep 10 for now. Disable the exploded view, let it cook. Should go fairly fast. Let it cook for all the floors. Because we are cooking this all in a loop, they're gonna have overlapping names. Okay, but we don't want that, so we are going to do the same thing we did here, but after the Voronoi now. Paste it here. So primitive class. Here we have 6,617 individual pieces, and just call these, I guess, floor. Floor, okay. Let's clean up on menu. Okay, so that's our floor. Let's do the same thing with, let's go here like this. Out floor. Now let's do the frame. Okay, this is one of the challenging meshes as well. Same deal here. Actually, don't have to do it here, we'll do it after. So pretty much the same deal here. Again, I should have name by connectivity here, so I can use this. So I can do again for each name primitive. I think the material fracture does this. It does loop internally now, but I still sometimes get inconsistent results. That's why I'm kind of doing this all in loops. Maybe it's faster, maybe it feels like it works better for me, but I'm not sure, but this is how I do it. Target size 2. We're gonna go on the frame group. I think, let me see. Did it? Okay, well, I was trying to figure out, yeah, so this is what this does. Like if you go really big numbers, it will kind of break the overall shape, but if you enter your group, it will try to keep the shape. Oh, we forgot this guy. So it will preserve it will try to preserve the shape, and it will basically remesh it accordingly. I should probably put the Voronoi in here after the remesh, which I could have done this here as well. You know what, let's do that this time. There's no difference practically, unless it's like a really heavy remesh and you want to cache it, so you cache it here and then you do the Voronoi here, but this is quite fast, so let's just stick to it. Come here. There was one. Okay, there's one mesh there that's this is a suspicious one. Let's do this. Where is this? There's a single left out mesh there. There's a labs tool that is good for deleting small parts. You can use this one. So it kind of like goes through every single piece. So let's see. Did it remove anything? It kind of did. Is it? It's good for like removing small areas and big areas. It comes handy. Like there was some dirty small geo there. We certainly don't need don't need that. So okay, like this one as well. So maybe let's find the value for this. There is the fit value, and yeah, this removes it actually. Okay, so I just need to cook it fully. I think if I do this, it's gonna cook the whole thing, and then if I go back here, it will not find that small piece anymore. Let's do Voronoi fracture here again. Let's set the piece prefix. Oh yeah, because when I use the Voronoi, I can do that thing, but I'm doing the connectivity, right? So I don't really need to change here anything. I do my, I don't know, because we are doing this in a loop, it's going to create the same names. It's gonna, because every time it loops a floor, it's going to generate the same numbers. So it's going to be like piece 0, and another floor there will be another piece 0. That's why I'm kind of like doing this all in loop, and then doing a connectivity to give them a unique name. When you do a loop like this without adding an iteration value to the seed, you'll have repeating patterns. But in this case, I think these are really big seams, and I never noticed the repeating pattern, so I really didn't bother. But I think we showed how to do that in building generator anyway. Where did I show it? In one of these places, the seed value. In one of these loops. Or maybe here. Iteration, yeah. So basically, this is for, like, you can click create meta import when you start a loop, which is going to create the second guy, right? And in the detail attribute, it's going to say I am looping first iteration, I'm looping second iteration. So then you can use this value as a seed to change things within the loop, right? So in this case, it was changing, I was using that as a random number generator. So the way usually you fetch it is the detail, in this case it's a H script. Let open, the help didn't open, and it's like I want to fetch the detail attribute, and I want to fetch from here, and then the name of the attribute is called iteration. It's a string, and the first value, because it's a float, or if it's XYZ, I want to get the X. All right, let's go back to the fracturing. We are on manual. Let's do points from volume. So because this guy was really thin, and I didn't want to scatter so much points, so I kind of tried to get out some even numbers, and I think I even ended up offsetting some of these points. So you see that they are here now, and then you can do something like this on the y-axis. But oh, these are because they're empty also on these floors. Let's go maybe 0.5. Yeah, maybe this time let's go scatter. And if I scatter here, it's gonna scatter here and there. Maybe let's go 100. You need to have really good amount of geo for these guys, because if they're really big, they end up not really working. So let's do an exploded view, because they hold each other, they hold the building in a weird way. So this is probably okay. You see, you don't really have one really tall, long mesh. Okay. Cool. Let's continue. Then this goes down to finish the loop. Okay, that's gonna take a little longer. These could be all compiled, I think. The Voronoi works with compile swap. I don't think the material fracture does, because it has compile inside, I believe. All right, let it finish this thing. halfway through. Then we're going to again drop in a connectivity and create our original frame names. Then 3 more layers to finish the fracturing. A little bit more. Okay, let's do an exploded view to here to see how busy this looks. I'm gonna guess huge. Okay, so we certainly can make, I think some of these might be a little bigger than I'd like. Oh yes, so you see these interior guys, we forgot something. We forgot to distribute them better. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find the floor. Basically we're gonna use the I think density scale instead, because when we get to smaller areas like this, still trying to what is doing is, let me select this one, single pass. So here it will try to run away with 100 points, and here it will also try to run away with 100 points, and there's going to be so much more pieces, obviously, because it has less space. So then instead of force total count, let's try total density. Let's go 1. Let's try 0.5. Let's try 0.2. Okay, now let's try to change the floor to a bigger floor. Okay, so it's kind of more in the ballpark, I'll say. Okay, so let's just go to a random none. Okay, I think now it's a bit more, makes a bit more sense. So let's turn off the single pass, let it cook again. This should go now faster. Okay. Okay, I'll pause it so we don't have to wait a bit more. Okay, so this is the final result. It looks a bit more evenly distributed. I think that's okay. It's a lot of pieces, but you know, it's bullet is fast. All right, so I think we can just copy paste this and just rename it accordingly. This has to recook as well for me to copy. Okay. All right, let's copy this, paste it here, plug it in. Okay, and we're gonna call this rename frame, and let's type frame instead of floor here. If you look at the here, we have 44,000 frame pieces. I think that's an okay number. Null. Okay, and let's go out frame. Okay, we'll continue fracturing. I don't need these two guys anymore. Next thing is side walls. No, next thing is out walls. Okay. We can, I think, follow the same process. These are fairly flat objects, so I think we can just use a Voronoi for these ones. Let's put a Voronoi fracture. Let's put a scatter stop. We're gonna probably do the same thing again so we don't get uneven distribution. Maybe 10 is a bit too much. Should we have, yes, that's huge. Okay, let's try 1. Still too much. Let's try 0.2. I'll go a bit lighter on these ones. Okay, let's try this one. So basically, you know, you would normally save for each one of these actually without going loops. You can try this, and if it's taking too much time or testing purposes, then you can actually start putting inside the loop. This is kind of like up to you. I try to do it in a way that to divide and conquer the bigger problems into smaller problems. Kind of gets me to where I want faster. And if things break halfway through, let's say it keeps crashing, the loop will tell you a better idea of where it's crashing. Maybe it's crashing on the 5th loop, maybe it's on the 6th loop, so you exactly know where the geometry is, which geometry is causing problem. So this is now taking a bit more time than I'd like, and it's not giving me feedback on the loop, so it doesn't tell me, you know, where I am out of how many loops. So it's a bit more, you know, hard to judge, I guess, but it's doing something, that's for sure. Let me kill this to see what it's doing, and it's, I think, a good time to save anyway. And I'll put this now in a loop as well. Let's save this as fracture part 2. Okay, so let me put this in a loop. Again, loop by name for each name primitive. So it's gonna fetch one floor. We do the same thing on that floor. We'll get a lot faster result. Okay, we can probably do a bit more. You know, these are the out walls, right? Okay, so I would treat these like a panel. So let's do this. Like, imagine these are installed panels, so they don't break like this, but they rather break like they were installed in blocks. So maybe we can do something like this. So if I do like this, just have to make sure that there is no additional point here. Can I blast these and distribute single point? These may have come useful. I don't have that, but I can do something like this. What if I scatter a point right in the center of each face, and then I cannot do that also. All right, let's try the divide. Let's try divide. That's too much. Let's go 5, 5, 5. Let me try this first. Let's see what it's gonna do. Explode view. Okay, so they're more like or even double panels, so a bit more interesting. Okay, let's stick to this. Why not? That might work. Let it cook then. And then we're gonna name them as well. Then we're gonna do the shell, and that will be it for the fraction. And we just have to cook all our buildings in. Oh, we have problematic areas. There you go. Alright, so this didn't work. Alright, let's try to see which part is doing that area. So it's not this one, it's not this one, it's not this one. We can continue until we find the bad seed. That's gonna be, oh, here we go. Somewhere around here, there's one. That one. Is it 11? No. 12. Come on. Oh, that's a good one. It's at the bottom more. No. Okay, let me pause the video so I can find one. Okay, so I kind of went back, and it kept crashing in one loop. So this is basically how I sorted this out now. For the out walls, I used 0.01 with relaxed installations by default, and just a Voronoi, and after again connectivity, and name it a sidewall. So let's call it sidewall. Okay, and in here now we have, if I go here, we have 4,453 sidewall pieces. Here we go. And if I go here, this is my interior walls, kind of doing the same thing, exactly the same thing actually. Basically in your versions, what you're gonna do is that first, I guess you're gonna go in a similar way, similar numbers, maybe less numbers, until we set up the RBD, and then you hit play and see if it's actually fitting in your memory. If it is fitting, then you can start increasing the numbers. You know, okay, obviously more the merrier. The next thing we're gonna do now is these frames. So these ones are paper thin at the moment. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to put a divide here, which reminds me, I think we could have done this with the out walls anyway as well, but we didn't. So my brick size is 4 on every axis. So if I go here, have a look at it, so it's from this to this, and now I'm going to say I think I can create the materials at the end. So basically I want to create a little primitive SOP to basically I want to split. I think I can do this with primitive SOP here. I don't need to go. I ran it in a solver, but I think we don't have to run the solver at the moment. We can just do transforms. And let me see. Yeah, this. Oh no, it doesn't work. You see, it's pulling connected pieces together. So what I want is to split everything. So I can do that by for each primitive, not by name. So here it's splitting it now, and I can do my scaling inside and scale it to, let's say, 0.84, 0.98, 0.98, 0.98. So from the centroid it will do this now, and then I can do the poly extrude here. I think I can do the poly extrude at the end as well. So let's loop this through first. So now every polygon is kind of separated from each other. These are my panels. Now I can do a poly extrude here, and it's going to be, I think, 0.02, so 2 centimeters thick. Output back, of course. Let's see what it does. So everything should get a slight thickness. Okay, so these are like aluminum panels. Connectivity and rename as usual. Okay, comes here, and we need to name these as I think shell. Named shells. Could have probably used better names, but this is what it is. Out shell. All right, so I think the last thing remaining is the lights. Let me see. Let's remove unnecessary stuff. Let that cook it. Okay, and here the same thing. So we're not going to fracture these. What we're going to do instead is just this part. So we're going to move here, plug it in. I'm going to call these lights. Okay, and out lights. Let's save as fracture part 3. Okay. I think now we just merge these guys down here. So let me see, should I merge them here? No, okay. So how I want to do this is that I want to merge all these except the glass, because I want to actually simulate them separately. Okay, so since my scene crashed before, it has to do some other previous fracture, so let it cook, and I'll get back to you once everything is cooked. Okay, so it's finished cooking. So these are building now without the glasses. How many pieces do we have? So basically we can do a pack now by name, and the amount of packed objects will give us the amount of pieces to be simulated. And I can see from here that our outside walls may need a bit more detailing, to be honest. But let's see. 125,791 pieces. This is actually I think pretty okay number for, it's not much. I think, you know, this can go up to 1 million and that would be really cool, but do we need that at the moment? I don't think so. So we can do something like RBD pack now. RBD pack. Okay, I'll go here. So it's gonna create geometry constraints and proxy. So these are empty, I don't have them. We can do those now. So we can do things like, if basically these are the hero chunks, right? And I can do things like what was it, convex decomposition, but I don't really, it won't work because it won't work, we don't really need that because I don't have detailed, I don't have the edge detail turned on. So like if I have a look here versus here, there's no difference. So if I was using edge detailing, I would want to generate convex decomposition, but it's not going to be any different than this. You're not saving any memory using the proxy here because we are not generating high detailed edges at the moment, at least. If you want, yeah, you can go that way, but for this tutorial purposes, we're not gonna push the boundaries because these are really big simulations. Okay, so now I can merge my glass fracture here. We have to bake that as well, so let me speed that up for you. Okay, so that's finished now as well. That was only, this was the glass, right? Okay, so this is where we convert this to bounding box. So let's go full geo. Just gonna load the geo as well. Okay, so that's a lot of glass. Finally, let's merge this guy here, and this is packed as well. Let's merge this guy here. Just want to make sure that we have the glass type as well. So now we have a glass type, RBD type, geometry constraints proxy, which these two are empty. Now we go null, out fracture. Okay, and now this is gonna be the part of our tops network. So let's go back in here. So this is the after our buildings are cached out. So let me save just to make sure that it's not gonna do something crazy. Cook. Okay, still trying to cook the last guy. I believe we saved the last guy, no? Oh, we didn't. Okay. Let's do this. Let's go 9 wedges. So it's 0 to 8. That shouldn't do. It should find. Oh, no. Okay. It's not doing it. So let's go back to 10. 0 to 9. Let's try again. Find them. No. Can I tell it to resume parts of the cache batches? Can it do it? Some frames. Okay, so it goes to the last one. So I'm going to cheat the system here. This is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go to this folder. Okay. And I'm going to find my smallest building in terms of size, which is this guy. And I'm going to make that number 9. Copy, paste, rename. Normally I would try to find why this one is not simulate. It's why it failed to generate the cache. But hey, stop. We have it now, right? So this is number 9 is here. So can you just find it? It's not finding it. This was working before. All right. Let's. No, I'd like you to skip it. Can we mark this as done? Cook work item. Okay, let's try to bake it. Maybe it will work this time. While this is happening, we can continue generating our network. So because it's wedged, we're gonna drop in a wait for all command. Okay, it's gonna go down here once this is done. Then we're going to create a fracture wedge node. Okay, and we're gonna name it fracture wedge. Fracture wedge is going to have the same wedge count as this guy, obviously. So we can do copy, paste as 10. Okay, so I was setting up this the wedge one. So the fracture wedge will be named building to fracture. Okay, and it's an integer, and it's 0 to 9. So you just notice that this just popped up. So this last job errored again. So in case things errors like this, there's an option called filter by state, and if you set it to failed, and it's gonna filter the fail out, and it will continue the job. So in this case, the last guy is failing. But I mean, if you get persistent errors like this might help if they're not important. Otherwise, the only solution is to go to this guy and see where it is on which part of the network is failing, and then do something with it so it doesn't fail. Now we're gonna wait here, right? We're gonna go cook, and it will cook. So now all this upper level is baked, and this is building generation. Here, let's call this building generation, building gen. Okay, and now we're gonna do the fracture. That's going to be 10 of them, so it just generates the values. In this case, I think we're just gonna go to 9, because we don't really want to load the last guy, because it doesn't work. So we can do -1, which means 0 to 8, because it's gonna be 0 to 8 integer that's 9 unique values, so that's fine. Let's cook it again. 1 less point. The last one will be index 8. Okay, so it's never gonna load 9 because 9 doesn't exist anyway. How do we know? Because we never managed to cook it. Well, this one cooked something. Oh, this is the one we copied, but we don't want to do that anyway. All right. Now let's drop in a geometry node. I'm just gonna copy this, paste this here. Let's give it a new name, building fractures. I'm just gonna copy and paste here. The path will be the same, except it's now gonna go under $os. Instead of building seed, we're gonna go building to fracture. Okay, building to fracture, and now we need to copy this, because this is what is going to be changing once tops calls for action. So let's go to building fracture, and we just need to, it doesn't have to cook, but it's cooking. Let it cook. It shouldn't have cooked. Oh, because the seeds changed maybe. And then basically we have to go down here. I'm just going to put this on manual, and I'm going to change. I can put, instead of a switch, I can paste my switch to be driven by an attribute, which is building the fracture. Okay, so if you, for example, put the flag here just before we send it for cooking, and let's pin this guy, and it's loading this building, right? And then we can go into our tops again, and if I cook this guy here all the way and press any of these other buttons, it's going to switch to building, which means then it's going to start fracturing each one of these one by one. Then we're going to drop in another wait for all. That's going to come after. Let's go here. basically this is our fracturing network. So let's call this fracture groups or fracture buildings, building fracture buildings. Okay. Basically we have our land simulation, so we don't have to wait for this to wait for building simulation but for here. Okay, so we can do this. What's going to happen is after this we can simulate our buildings, which means we can put a merge here. Our buildings will collide with the center collapsing geo, so this needs to come here and this can merge here, right? Which means this is already cached out. This is land simulation. Let's go here, plug it in here. Let's call it land RBD. Land RBD needs, secondary debris needs this job to be completed, so that's fine. And this also needs, I don't remember what this needed. We'll have to have a look. Optio, terrain out, trees. I think this needs the land to be simulated as well. Yes, because we have moving parts there. Just have to have a look a bit closer. Okay, so our network is coming together a little bit. So what I'm going to know now is I'm going to save this as number 4, and I'm going to fracture those buildings. So that's going to obviously take some time. So we're going to pause the video and get back to it once this is done. Let me see, actually all those caches should be still visible. All these caches should be still visible too, but now if I cook it, it's going to say something changed, so I think it may try to cook it. So let's instead make sure that all this is turned on. I think that might avoid it. Let's see what it does, because our input chain has changed, it may try to resimulate that. I think it's gonna find them instead. Yes, it found the file, so it's not gonna redo it. And even though we can do the same thing here, that should also find the caches. Yes, and this guy. This. I'm not gonna resume. It's just gonna find the files. Oh, this one doesn't do it. Maybe we didn't run this before. I don't remember. Anyway, let's pause this. I'm not gonna delete. Do we have the files for this actually? Oh, we don't have the files for this. That's why it never ran. Okay, let's leave it. We will eventually run this overnight or something. This can stay here. Let's call this land secondary here. Let's do a little organization. Land secondary simulations. All right, sometimes you wish you had a farm, because this could be greatly distributed. Okay, save, and I'm going to hope that this is going to fracture without any issues. And I'll get back to you once it's done, so we can look at our fractured buildings and start the RBD sims. All right, see you in the next video.